Hey guys, this is Bailey Stein with Android Authority, and today we'll be checking out the first affordable smartphone with an 18:9 display. So this is the LG Q6. You can think of it as a G6 Mini, as it takes much of what we love about the flagship G6 and puts it in a slightly smaller, more affordable package. The most exciting aspect of the Q6 is undoubtedly the display. I mean, just look at it. LG's Full Vision technology makes for minimal bezels on each side of the display. Until now, displays with 18:9 aspect ratios and curved corners were reserved for much more expensive models. The Q6 display isn't just a winner in looks, too, as it makes the phone more compact and thus easier to hold. The 5.5-inch 1080p IPS panel is a small step down from the G6's 5.7 inches, but it's just enough to make the Q6 ergonomic while still having a large display. You're really getting the best of both worlds here. The display itself is better than we expected too. Contrast, color reproduction, and saturation are all great. Sunlight readability isn't the best, but it's about as good as you're going to get unless you spend more. You won't have to spend more for a nice design though, at least not with the Q6. The Q6 shares many premium design elements with the G6, including a metal frame, glossy back, and solid build quality. That doesn't mean that there aren't any compromises though. This time around, the glossy back is plastic instead of glass. Plastic has some advantages, but here it scratches unbelievably easily. This isn't a huge deal though, as you can always just buy a third-party case. A more significant compromise is the lack of a fingerprint reader. When pretty much every other phone has a fingerprint reader, even at this price, we have to question LG's judgment. The supposed substitute to this is face recognition, but it sadly doesn't work well in practice. The feature stops working when you're in a dark room, recently shaved your face, or even styled your hair differently. You can get the Q6 unlocked in either single or dual SIM variants. Either way, you'll get a microSD card slot in case the phone's built-in 32GB isn't enough. LG chose to place the Q6's speaker on the back, a somewhat odd choice given the side position on the G6. The speaker sounds really distorted too, so you want to stick to headphones. All's not lost though, as there is still a 3.5mm headphone jack, so you won't have to mess around with dongles. Strangely, the Q6 uses micro USB instead of USB Type-C, a reversible standard that has been around for 2 years now. That made it difficult for us to use the Q6 day to day since we fully transitioned to the new standard. Those who haven't though might appreciate this. While LG isn't advertising fast charging on the Q6, we were able to charge from 0 to 50% in 45 minutes. Since our review unit does not support 4G LTE in the US, we had to conduct our battery life test on 3G, which likely inflated the results. Still, you can expect about 4 hours of screen on time with a full day of moderate use. That's pretty good, but not all that surprising given that it's using a low-end, power-efficient Qualcomm Snapdragon 435. The 435 is pretty low-end, but hey, it's better than some MediaTek chips out there. Combined with 3GB of RAM, the LG Q6 is still a very capable performer day to day. You probably won't notice its slightly slower performance unless you compare it directly to a more expensive phone. You will notice a difference with a 13MP f2.2 rear camera though. As the saying goes, you get what you pay for. One of the main issues we experienced is the camera's slower speed to capture images. This caused some serious motion blur in some of our sample shots. If you manage to keep a very steady hand during the capture though, you can get some decent looking images. Color reproduction is very good and there's a good level of detail. Dynamic range could be better, but it's no worse than competing options. If you're just snapping the occasional pic for social media, this camera will be just fine. With that said, if you take a lot of important photos, you may want to consider spending a bit more for something better. The camera really struggles in low light, as is typical at this price. There's a bunch of digital noise and color reproduction takes a considerable hit. You can record videos at up to 1080p, but video quality is not very good. Selfies don't turn out very well either. Frankly, the 5MP f2.2 front-facing camera produces blurry and poorly colored shots. Moving on to software, the LG Q6 ships with Android 7.1.1 Nougat with LG's UX 6.0 layered on top. So you're getting the same exact software that's on the flagship LG G6. If you've used LG's UX recently, you'll know that it's not that different from stock Android. It's a very clean experience with only a few minor design tweaks to keep things fresh. For example, there's no app drawer by default, the settings menu is organized by tabs, and system apps have their own designs. You can really take advantage of the Q6's 18:9 display with Nougat's split-screen multitasking feature. There's plenty of vertical space for 2 apps, so you can comfortably browse the web while also watching a YouTube video. We are sure many users will appreciate this balanced approach to software, as it has left a solid, polished experience. That can't be said about all phones in this price category, so it's nice knowing you get exactly what you expect. If you're in India, you can purchase the LG Q6 now for 15,000 rupees. That's about $234, but we're not sure when this phone will make it to the States. Color options include black, platinum, and gold. There's also a slightly lower end Q6A and a slightly higher end Q6 Plus. We expect that these devices will offer similar overall experiences. To wrap up, we are very impressed that LG was able to bring their full vision display technology to such a low price point. The display's 18:9 aspect ratio, along with the phone's minimal bezels, truly make the Q6 stand out from its competitors. We also really like the compact size and clean software experience. However, the phone's lack of a fingerprint reader, unimpressive cameras, and other minor issues just make it tough to recommend the phone over competing options. If you're okay with its flaws and really want the display though, you'll be happy with the LG Q6. And that will be all for this video. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell button to get notified when we release new videos. Also, be sure to check out the Android Authority website, as we're your source for all things Android.